Hello, I'm Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker, so this is fresh off watching UFC Rematches or UFC Vegas, Mexico, whatever the hell you want to call it. So yeah, I'm Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker. It's mostly a sports show that I do, you know, there's comedy mixed in, mostly looking at mixed martial arts in the NFL because that's what I'm massively into. This one is focused largely on the amount of rematches that we are going to be seeing in the UFC, which ones are warranted and which ones are not, in my humble opinion. Please feel free to roast me in the comments and tell me who should be getting rematches and who shouldn't be, because it is a discussion at the end of the day. You know, this is not a, what's it called, a dictatorship? I mean, who cares? It's all just opinions flying around. Anyway, basically recapping UFC Vegas, Mexico, and looking at the rematches going on in the UFC. So let's get cracking. My notes very quickly on UFC, not just UFC Vegas, Mexico, UFC Vegas, Independence Day for Mexico, UFC Mexico in Vegas. Why didn't they do it in Mexico? Was there a reason? Did I miss that somewhere? Like, if you're going to have a UFC Mexico Independence Day card, why are you holding it in Vegas? I just found it a little bit odd. At first I thought it was in Mexico, and then I saw it was the T-Mobile Arena. I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Either way, very successful event. Seemed nice. I would say the Mexican fans are just as bad as the Brazilian fans in that they are garbage a lot of the time. Like, they just boo anybody that isn't a Mexican fighter. It's so weird. It's like, come on, look, just enjoy the fight. I get it. It's like a pantomime, whatever. But they're just, I don't know, it seems weird. They're booing in the co-main event just because there are no Mexican fighters in it. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Grow up a little bit. I don't know. I've been at British events. We're just as bad, honestly. I don't know why I'm bringing it up. To be fair, at the UFC 202, where Bisping fought Dan Henderson. Everybody booed Dan Henderson going in because it's a pantomime. He's the American coming in to beat the Brit. We're going to boo him. It's like a pantomime. After the fight, everyone gave him the respect and cheered Dan Henderson because he's a legend of the sport. And he even said, where was this when I was walking into the fight? It's like, Dan, you were walking in to fight our guy, but we all respect you, and the crowd all cheered him. That's the difference between the British fans and you see like the Brazilians and the Mexican fans. They will boo and be very disrespectful to some absolute legends of the sport. And yeah, even I remember when Teixeira retired. They didn't show any respect there at all in Brazil. And that's your guy. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I do think it's somewhat disrespectful at times. But anyway, I digress. Good event. Star of the show. He was sitting on the prelims. He's the middleweight that I think is going to be tearing through that division. I think he's a guy that's going to be a real problem for everybody. And his name is Roman Kopylov. I've been high on this guy for a little while. His kickboxing is unbelievable. He's a master of sport in hand-to-hand combat. He's like a 5-time champion in Sambo, I believe. But you just see the way once he gets a read on people, it's like fishing with dynamite. It's not even fair. And that head kick he throws this left high kick, and it's devastating because even when you block it, you could tell Fremd's arm was done. Like, he blocked 2 of those kicks and his arm was done. It was just done. And the first round was fairly competitive, and even Fremd was winning the foot battle because they were same stancing. So like, he was getting the foot to the outside, which was pretty good. But Kopylov then started to take over in the later 2 minutes of that round because he started getting a read, and once he figured out the timing of Fremd, it was like night and day. All of a sudden, everything that Fremd threw was being countered. Everything that he threw. Kopylov is very high level. He's a name that you're going to be seeing. He's going to be seeing a lot. I think he's definitely championship material, but we're going to have to slow your roll, Burt. Come on, we haven't even seen him against a ranked guy yet. I know that's probably what you think, but I think he needs to have a ranked guy next. For me, looking at the rankings, you've got Nizadin Imavov, ranked 12. I think that's a fair matchup. Nizadin Imavov is a very good fighter, very well-rounded. It'd be a very good litmus test to see just how good Roman Kopylov is. But looking at how Kopylov is dispatching of people, Just look at his head kick over Ribeiro. I still feel that was the best head kick in this year so far in the UFC, and the way he dispatched Frem there, he's just very, very difficult to beat because he's hard to get to the ground. He's almost like going to be a Chuck Liddell-like character because he's so good at Sambo and he's so good at reading those takedowns with the strikes coming in. He's just so hard to take down. I don't know what his ground game is like once we get there because he loves to... He looks so relaxed in there, man. He's just like ice cold. And once he gets a read, that's it. He is going to obliterate you. And that's what he does. He's a destroyer. So give him Imavov next. And the sky's the limit, I think. There's a lot of the guys in that top 15 at middleweight that I think Kopylov matches up extremely well against. Khamzat Chimaev is one of them. I think that these are the kind of guys that Khamzat would go up against and he'd have some trouble with. Like it's just these are the kind of guys they're going to be keeping characters like that away from. Jack Della Maddalena, he looked pretty good. It wasn't the best performance, but actually, you know what? It was a good, entertaining fight. It was a lot of back and forth. I felt like, whilst Holland had... It seemed like he had the volume, especially with the little leg kicks, but every time Della Maddalena landed, every time he threw a combination and landed, his accuracy was very high. There was very little wasted movement. He landed like most of what he threw, and what he landed... you could tell was hurting Holland. Holland had to really... There were big reactions that he was drawing. And that's what got him the nod in that one. It was a split decision. I don't think it should have been a split, honestly. I thought JDM won every round, honestly, just because he was because of the impact. You've got to remember, the judges are now told to score impact highest, not volume. It's impact. And when you're looking at impact, Della Maddalena was just far more impactful than Kevin Holland in that fight. And I don't think I'm out of my mind in saying that. That's literally all you could see. Main event I'm going to look into as part of our rematches everywhere around the UFC segment that's coming up next. Just if you enjoy this content, hit subscribe. You get basically we do weekly fight card previews here. The casuals guides are brilliant because it means that you can get a feel of the entire card. There's information on every fighter, every fight, up and down the card. I make my picks, but you don't have to go along with them. They're just my picks, but I do the research on each fight anyway. And I get it wrapped up in 20 minutes, so you haven't got to spend all night, watching it. Like some of these podcasts that go on for 2.5 hours, that's too much. I struggle with those ones sometimes, and I'm all in on MMA, and I struggle because I've got things to do. You've got things to do. You have lives, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? So, and here at the Burt Locker, we respect that. We respect you, and we respect your schedule. That's why we get your fight card previews done, wrapped up in a nice little bow, 20 minutes tops. You're welcome. So hit subscribe, hit the bell notifications so that you see when everything all comes up. So first off, for the rematches around the UFC, let's talk about the most recent one. Grasso versus Shevchenko 2. Well, it was a close fight. Let's not pretend it wasn't. It was a very close competitive fight. I tip my hat to both of those fighters. It was outstanding. You know what? This is one that I would like to see again because I think it's very clear that Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko are the very two top fighters in that division. That kind of goes without saying, I think. So, it was a very close fight. For me, Valentina won rounds 1, 3, and 4. Grasso won rounds 2 and 5. Those were the easy ones to call. Well, the easy ones to call were rounds 1 and 3 for Shevchenko. Rounds 2 and 5 for Grasso. Those were the easy ones to call. For me, the only one that was in question was round number 4. So, round number 4... if you're looking at it as far as impact goes, that's why I gave it to Shevchenko. Because it was back and forth, it was a close round, but Shevchenko caused the damage. The jab cut Grasso up. They're supposed to score damage as part of the impact factors that go towards scoring a win for a fighter. So with that in mind, Valentina did the damage, and everything she landed just looked like it kind of hurt more. So for that reason, I would give her round number 4. I don't think it would be egregious to give Grasso round number 4. So, for that reason, look, it's not the result that I think was wrong. I don't think the result was necessarily wrong. I wouldn't have been surprised to see Grasso get the win if the judges had given her round 4, and I believe one of the judges did give her round 4. And I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, it was a close enough round that you could make an argument either way, and maybe that was the coin toss. And you've got to remember, Grasso's the champion. I think that any round that is a coin toss has to go to the champion, because you have to beat the champion, not do as well as the champion. So look, it's not the decision overall that I have a problem with. I do have a problem with round 5 being scored a 10-8 round though, because it was not a 10-8 round. That's not a 10-8 round. That's not what that is, right? Shevchenko was winning she won 2.5 minutes of that round. Kind of clearly. On the feet she was winning, she was landing, she was really kind of taking over. And then she made a mistake, she ended up getting mounted, getting her back taken. And yes, Grasso did a lot of work, but I don't think there was any point where it was like, this is close to being finished. Like the choke looked like she had her in the position, but the choke wasn't really in. It's like, yeah, okay, if you give her an unlimited amount of time, if there are no time limits, then yeah, Grasso probably wins that, because she'll get that choke eventually. But there are time limits, and the rounds are 5 minutes, and within those 5 minutes, she did not get the finish. And Shevchenko won the first half of that round. That's a 10-9 to Grasso. That is not a 10-8 to Grasso. So, when the scorecards have it that without that 10-8, Shevchenko would have won, then that's what I have a problem with. That's why they need to run it back. Also, you can't have that rivalry ending on a draw. That's ridiculous. So yeah, run that one back. I have zero problem with them running back Grasso versus Shevchenko again, because I'd watch those two fight every week, honestly. It was entertaining as all hell, so run that one back. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. Should Adesanya get an instant rematch? Fuck off. No, he shouldn't. Absolutely not, and I will tell you why. He used up his first title defence, his instant rematch, against Alex Pereira. This is the first fight of his second title run. The fight wasn't close. Strickland shut him down, dominated from bell to bell. It's not like he just caught him and knocked him out and you could say, well, Adesanya just got caught. He dominated him from bell to bell. No instant rematch. Move on. Is the idea, I'm with Robert Whittaker on this one. Robert Whittaker said, well, what, is the idea just to give Adesanya unlimited instant rematches anytime he loses a fight now? Is that where we are with this? I do understand the point about money making fights. The Adesanya versus Strickland 2 is probably a money fight, so they're probably going to grant the instant rematch. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. Fuck off with that, right? And notice I didn't say, please don't do the rematch, or I don't think it's right to do that. I said fuck off, right? And that means fuck off. That's a terrible idea, because then you're setting a precedent that anytime, if you get to a certain level, anytime you lose, you just get an instant rematch. No. Shut it down. Do Sean Strickland against the winner of like Khamzat and Paulo Costa, or do Sean Strickland against Dricus du Plessis. Dricus du Plessis earned that title shot. He gets the next title shot. Adesanya does not. Get to the back of the line. Either fight the winner of Khamzat versus Paulo Costa, or fight Roman Kopylov. There you go. Give Adesanya Roman Kopylov. We'll find out how good Kopylov really is, and we'll find out how much Adesanya still wants to do this man dance. Make that happen. No rematch. No instant rematch on that one. Then you've got Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Tits. Aljamain Sterling. He defended against Peter Yan, TJ, and Cejudo. 3 title defences. He gets a rematch. If you've defended the belt 3 times, you should get an instant rematch. Look, he didn't get dominated, he got caught. Look, was it an impressive, fantastic performance by Sean O'Malley? You betcha. Yes, it was. Was I impressed? You bet. Yeah, really great stuff. He bounced it. Was it it was a perfect stoppage. It wasn't early. Sean was bouncing his head off the mat like a basketball. It was brilliant. It was a great finish, right? But Aljamain Sterling defended that belt 3 times. For me, that is an instant rematch, because it's not like he got dominated either. So for me, it was a great performance. It sucks for Merab Dvalishvili. It does suck to be in his position, because he won't fight Aljamain Sterling. And now the Aljamain Sterling should be granted that instant rematch. If they're going to give Israel Adesanya a rematch, Aljamain Sterling 100% deserves a rematch. How would he not? Do you know what I mean? Also, that's the money fight as well. Aljamain versus Sean O'Malley, that's a great rivalry. It's a fun fight, it's a fun build-up, it's fun stylistically. Let's do it again. Let's see if Aljamain Sterling can get that title back again. That rematch I agree with. So, that's the 3 big rematches. And that's what I think about them. So let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you agree or no? Who do you think should get the rematch? For me, yes to Grasso Shevchenko. Yes to Aljo versus Sean O'Malley. A big old fuck off to Adesanya versus Strickland 2. I think they need to make Adesanya work his way back to that one. So let me know what you think in the comments. As always, hit subscribe. And until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.